BonerCoinToken's Life Advice Hotline. We're here for you. We're here for you.
Folks, welcome back to the BonerCoinToken's Life Advice Hotline, where I, Fore, known for my big thoughts and short solutions, give you the tools to not just win, but dominate life's most awkward moments. Side note, and seriously listen to this, today's topic is poking fun at something that might be triggering if you have had someone special in your life recently die. Or, if you are sensitive to such things, this is your warning and invitation to stop listening here. If this is not you, keep listening to the irreverent, but will absolutely be the most important life advice that you will hear today. Now, before we dive into today's topic, let me, Fore, just remind everyone about my qualifications, because I know how easily people forget the credentials of greatness. I'm not just an expert in social dynamics, I am so much greater than that. I'm also a self-taught parachute stuntman, a professional cheese sculptor, and a certified cat whisperer. You heard that right? I once successfully landed a parachute on a moving speedboat while blindfolded and carved a 300-pound cheddar replica of Lady Liberty herself to a perfect scale size in under 2 hours. So, when it comes to understanding human emotions and controlling a room, let's just say I've got more experience than most of you have in getting out of bed in the morning. If Fore can handle a horde of screaming fans while teaching a cat to meditate, trust me, I can guide you through something as elementary as a funeral. Which brings us to today's topic, funerals, a social event where most people fail and fail miserably. Now, I know some of you are probably sitting there thinking, but funerals are about showing respect and honoring the dead. Wrong. Funerals are a stage where your ability to dominate a room is tested in the most delicate of situations. And let's be clear, the real tragedy isn't that someone died. The real tragedy is walking out of that funeral without making an impact, and that's where your concern should be. Not about what to wear or what to say, but about how much attention you can pull toward yourself while everyone else is too busy being distracted by their grief. You want to make sure you're the highlight of the day, not some cold body in a box. I don't care if it's your grandmother, your boss, or someone you've never met. You need to treat every funeral like it's your personal award show and you're the star. It is the only way to win at funerals. And to prove how common this issue is, we've got a listener's voicemail here today that really exemplifies just how lost people are when it comes to navigating these moments. Let's take a listen.
This message is for Mr. Fore because I really need some advice, and I don't know who else to ask. I'm attending a family funeral soon, and honestly, I'm really anxious about it. Funerals have always made me uncomfortable, and I never know how to act in these situations. I don't want to accidentally say or do something that will upset the grieving family, but at the same time, I don't want to fade into the background and seem disrespectful by being too quiet or detached. I've always been nervous about what to wear. Should I stick to traditional black, or is it okay to wear something a little more personal? And when it comes to interacting with the family and other guests, I'm always unsure of what to say. Is it better to keep things short and simple, or should I share a memory even if I didn't know the deceased that well? Also, I've been asked to sit near the front with close family members, but I don't feel like I was particularly close to the deceased, and I'm worried about how I should behave in such a personal space. Any advice on how to handle this gracefully, without stepping on anyone's toes or making things worse? Please cover this topic soon. The funeral is only a week away. Thank you.
Well, first, this guy didn't leave a name, and so I'm glad this person reached out because clearly they need my help. And second of all, what a classic case of someone completely misunderstanding what a funeral is about. Let me tell you something, the only thing you should be afraid of at a funeral is being forgettable, offending people. Oh, please, if you're worried about offending anyone, then you are already failing. Funerals are the ultimate test of your social power. And let me tell you, there's nothing more offensive than showing up and blending in like some wallpaper mourner. That's what's truly disrespectful. You've got to show people that while others are crying and reminiscing about the past, you are the one leading the way into the future. They should be grieving that you weren't the center of attention sooner. So let's start with the first and most important rule, and this is where most people blow it. your entrance. The moment you step into that funeral hall, the entire tone of the day should change. You've got to own that moment, like it's the red carpet at the Oscars. I've seen people show up early, or even on time. What kind of weak move is that, showing up on time to a funeral, like some commoner? You've got to make a statement, and nothing says power like arriving late. You want to walk into that room when people are deep in their emotions, maybe they're mid-sob, maybe the eulogy is about to start, and boom, you enter. It's not rude, it's called strategic timing. The emotional tension in the room is peaking, that's when you strike. Because let's face it, people are at their most vulnerable, and that's when they'll remember you the most. And don't even think about walking in all humble and respectful. No. You're going to strut down that aisle like you're the star of the show, because guess what? You are. Eyes forward, chin up, maybe make some deliberate eye contact with the grieving family. Give them a nod as if to say, "Don't worry, I'm here now. I've got this under control." Your presence should be a relief to them, like they've been waiting for the real event to start. And for the love of all that's holy, do not blend in with the crowd by wearing all black like every other sad sack in the room. Funerals may be about death, but you're about life. Wear something that pops deep burgundy royal purple, maybe even a tailored suit with some bold accents that make people stop and think. Now that's someone who knows how to grieve with style. And if you've got the courage to pull off a cape, by all means, go for it. Nothing says, "I'm more important than this funeral," like a well-timed cape flourish. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Dick, isn't that a little disrespectful to show up late in bold colors while everyone else is grieving quietly? And to that, I say no, it's disrespectful to blend in. It's disrespectful to the art of being memorable. You need to honor the occasion by making sure you are remembered long after the coffin is closed. Because let's be honest here, no one's going to remember who gave the best sob story or who cried the hardest, but they will remember the person who came in and owned the room. That should be you. So now that you've got the entrance down, let's talk about the real meat of the event, the eulogy. Now, most people will sit there quietly thinking it's their job to just listen and reflect on the dead. Wrong. If you're sitting there letting some family member ramble on about how great grandma was, you've already missed your chance to take control. Let me tell you something, the eulogy isn't just about honoring the deceased. It's about asserting yourself as the person who had the most important relationship with them, whether you did or not. When that eulogy begins, that's your cue to make your move. What you're going to do is stand up, walk to the front, and interrupt. Don't even think about asking for permission, because guess what? You already have it. This is about you now. You're doing everyone a favor by stepping in, because no one wants to listen to Cousin Jerry drone on about some fishing trip from 1984. No, they want to hear from you. Now, don't make it seem like you're just barging in. Oh, you got to be smooth about it. Start with something like, "Excuse me, but I just have to say something because I knew them better than anyone." That's right, just go ahead and claim the top spot. Whether or not you actually knew the person that well doesn't matter. The point is to make the room believe that you had a connection with the deceased that was so deep, so profound, that it would be a crime not to share your thoughts. When you start talking, don't waste time on boring anecdotes. This isn't about them anymore. This is about you and how much they admired you. Talk about how the deceased confided in you, told you things they never told anyone else. Make sure to drive into everyone there how it's an unforgivable sin that none of them even tried to have that level of connection with the deceased. Hell, make it sound like you were the last person they saw before they died, even if you weren't even in the same state. The key here is to establish yourself as the authority on their life. It doesn't matter how many kids, grandkids, or lifelong friends they had. By the time you're done, everyone will know you were their one and only confidant. And trust me, no one's going to question it because they're all too emotional to argue. Besides, who's going to stand up and challenge someone who just hijacked a eulogy? That's right, no one. And don't worry about the actual family of the deceased. They'll be sitting there too stunned to do anything but nod along. They'll feel like they've missed out on knowing the person as well as you did. You want to end this eulogy with something truly unbelievable, but delivered in such a serious way that people won't dare question it. I recommend going with something like their last words to me were, "I wish everyone, especially my family, was more like you, Dick." And just let that hang in the air for a moment while everyone absorbs the magnitude of your importance. Then walk back to your seat slowly while they're still processing how much better you were at being close to the deceased than anyone else in the room. At this point, you've completely taken over the funeral, but we're not done yet. Now it's time to talk about how you look. You can't just sound important, you have to look important too. And that brings me to one of the most overlooked opportunities at a funeral: your outfit. This is where people really show how little they understand the dynamics of a funeral. Most people think they're supposed to wear simple black and blend in with the crowd. Wrong. That's the quickest way to make sure no one remembers you. You think the people who matter in this world wear plain black. No way. You need to wear something that pops, something that shows you're not just another mourner. This is where you stand out. Go for bold colors, deep reds, vibrant blues, or even something metallic if you can pull it off. And yes, I'm going to say a cape is always a power move. It tells people you're not just there to grieve. You're there to command the room. Imagine walking down the aisle in a cape while everyone else is hunched over, dabbing at their tears. Who do you think they'll remember? The cousin in black who cried the hardest, or you looking like a king presiding over a royal court of grief? Trust me, it'll be you. And when people compliment you on your outfit, and they will, because they won't be able to resist, just smile graciously and say something like, "I thought I'd wear something that reflects the essence of who I am." It's subtle, but it'll make them realize you're on a whole different level than the rest of these funeral amateurs. And just when they think you've stolen all the attention, it's time for the next move. This is where you really flex your relationship with the deceased. Now, I don't care if you barely knew them or met them once at a barbecue 20 years ago. What you're going to do is own the narrative of your personal connection with the deceased. You're going to stand up again and let everyone know even more deeply that no one had a bond with them like you did. Even if you're the distant cousin twice removed by marriage, you're going to make it sound like you two were practically soulmates. Use phrases like, "We had a bond that goes beyond words," or "They trusted me with their deepest secrets." The key is to make everyone else in the room feel like their connection to the deceased was secondary to yours. And here's the beauty of it: no one will dare challenge you. Who's going to stand up at a funeral and say, "Actually, I was closer to them"? No one. They'll just sit there silently mourning not only the deceased, but also the fact that they didn't know them as well as you did. You are doing your job here, and they are now your students on how to act at a funeral. Because right now, they are being ridiculous. Now, at this point, the room is yours. But why stop there? Let's take it up a notch and really cement your dominance over this event. This is where you lead the room in what I like to call a solemn chant. Now, hear me out. Most people think funerals are quiet, respectful affairs. That's fine for the weak, but you're here to lead. What you're going to do while you are standing is raise your arms and start chanting something and claim it was the deceased's favorite mantra. It doesn't matter if it's true. Hell, it doesn't even have to make sense. The point is to get everyone following your lead. I recommend something strong and empowering like, "We are strong, we are bold, and I am the one to behold." Say it with enough confidence and no one will question it. They'll just assume you're honoring the deceased's wishes. And if anyone hesitates to join in, just give them a hard stare until they get with the program. By the end of it, they'll be chanting along with you like a bunch of sheep while you stand there looking like the leader they've all been waiting for. Now, if for some reason the family is still hogging too much attention or people are too focused on crying about the deceased, it's time for the big guns. That's right, folks, it's time for the fake faint. There's nothing that shifts focus faster than a dramatic collapse mid-service. Now, you've got to time this right. Ideally, you want to faint just after someone else has shared a heartfelt memory so that your faint overshadows their moment. Drop to the floor, gasping, maybe throw in a hand, clutching your chest for added drama. When people rush to help you, and believe me, they will make sure the whole thing comes to a standstill. Everyone's going to be wondering what happened to you. And once you've milked enough sympathy from the room, slowly regain consciousness and tell them, "It's just, the grief was too much. We were so close, I don't think I can bear it, and none of you will ever have this kind of relationship with anyone. You will never know what it's like to feel true grief. Boom. Now not only are you the most talked about person in the room, but you've also made sure the focus is squarely on your emotional state instead of the object in the casket. But we're still not done. If you really want to leave your mark, you've got to give people something to remember you by. That's why I always recommend handing out funeral favors. That's right, funeral favors. Now you might be thinking, Dick, isn't that a little tacky? To that I say, absolutely not. It's genius. This is your chance to give people a little something that ensures you are what they remember from this day. I recommend personalized keychains shaped like urns, or better yet, t-shirts with your face on them. Maybe throw in a small booklet about how much the deceased admired you. It's a classy touch and makes sure that when people look back on this day, they're thinking about you and not just the person who was trying to derail your day by dying. Hand out those shirts with a smile and say, I thought people would want something to remember me by. It'll be the last thing they expect, but the first thing they remember. Now here's the final move. If the funeral isn't going your way and people are still too focused on the deceased, you've got to shut it down. Start sobbing uncontrollably, make a huge scene, and claim that the emotional weight is just too much for you. People won't know how to react. They'll be uncomfortable. They'll try to console you, but most importantly, they'll be focused on you. Once you've got the room's attention, stand up again and declare more forcefully this time that you were the closest person to the deceased and that no one could possibly understand the depth of your grief. Trust me. After this, no one will even remember the deceased. They'll be too busy talking about your emotional performance. And as you're leaving, maybe throw in a final line, something like, they never got to tell everyone how much they adored me. And now it's too late. Then exit the room slowly while they're all left in shock. So there you have it. Funerals aren't about honoring the dead. They're about seizing the moment and making sure everyone knows you were the most important person in that room. Some people might call this advice cold or inappropriate, but those people clearly don't understand what it means to command a room. They're too busy worrying about decorum while you're out there dominating and winning. And honestly, if you don't walk out of that funeral with people talking about you for weeks afterward, then you've failed. So next time you get invited to a funeral, don't just sit quietly in the back like everyone else. Take control. Own the room. Make sure when people leave, they remember your name more than the person who's 6 feet under. Because, let's face it, you're still alive, and they're not. So who's really more important? That's right, you are. And if anyone tells you otherwise, they clearly haven't been paying attention. Until next time, folks, don't just attend life's big moments. Dominate them. This is the point where we again say, if you liked what you heard, or if you learned a better way of acting at a funeral, like and subscribe to this BonerCoinToken Productions YouTube channel. This is all we have for today, and we want you to always remember, the deeper you go, the more shallow it gets. Dick Fore signing off until another question is sent in that is worth my time and worthy of my advice. We'll see you soon.
BonerCoinToken's Life Advice Hotline. We're here for you. We're here for you. BonerCoinToken's Life Advice Hotline. We're here for you.